Hello, I am Valerie Alawier, and welcome to another episode of Heart and Hope Conversations, a special component of our Navigating Chronic Illness with Heart and Hope series. This series is about real stories and real conversations about the resilience, challenges, and quiet victories that come with living and healing through chronic illness, caregiving, and recovery. Today, I am joined by Perry Aryee, an occupational therapist who not only brings medical expertise to his clients, but also deep empathy and compassion. His journey into occupational therapy is an inspiring one. He began his career in another field before finding his calling and helping people heal and regain strength. Perry, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with us.
Thank you
Your
for having
journey into occupational therapy is unique. So just wanted to give you an opportunity to share with us what inspired you to change careers and enter this field.
Well, Valerie, thank you so much for having me. I think this is a good opportunity to reach as many audiences as possible. And like you said earlier in your introduction, to help guide them through the healing process, the grief process, in every aspect of healing. So thank you again for having me. Well, like you said, I was a graphic designer by trade before I switched to occupational therapy. What guided me, or what helped change my mind to do this, was a series of incidences. So my dad was diagnosed with terminal disease. He had cancer, and was diagnosed many years ago. Um, and he had to move from Ghana to live with my sister in the UK, who was a nurse. Um, of course, would visit my brother, and I in the US would go and visit every once in a while. Um, and we had some visiting nurses and therapists come through. At the time, believe you me, I did not know what occupational therapy was. But here was a therapist working with my dad. Asked them out about the profession, um, saw the gains my dad was making through his occupational therapy sessions. And since I was considering a change just about that time, I thought it was something to look further into. So came back to the US and did my little research. And I sat back and I was like, oh, hold on. This seems like something that matches my personality pretty well. So how about I make a switch to it? At the time, my wife was going to school. She was taking her classes for nursing school. So we kind of thought about it together, and then we shared some ideas. We felt it would be a good idea to be in the profession together. So um, so many years later, here I am.
That's amazing. And I really love how finding your calling can come from, life nudging you in
Yes,
unexpected ways.
yes.
Yeah. So let's take a moment and talk about the clients you serve. You often meet people at some of the lowest moments, either after an injury or some life-changing diagnosis. So tell us a little bit about your approach to encouraging someone who feels like giving up.
Well, giving up is a big phrase, but it's so often happens, especially when you have people facing a very drastic, life changing event. So, as a therapist, I always say you're a human first before you chose to be a doctor, a nurse, or be in a caregiving profession anyway. So, I think it is very important to bring the human aspect of you. That way you can relate to people more easily and more effectively. Um, my approach to therapy is basically make the person comfortable from day one. So I'm coming to see you. As if I was coming to see my sister, my brother, my father, and then I try to greet you as warmly as I can. First things I normally ask is, "Are you okay? Is there anything you need?" Um, just to make sure we break in the ice as best as we can. And then, of course, I probably would have read about you before, did my little chart review before I come in to see you, so I have a good idea what your predicaments are. So
Mm,
um, I try to navigate carefully, not to you know stir any wounds that you may have, and then process the whole situation together with you, make you know that I'm there to help you. I
mhm,
have found, throughout my journey as a therapist, that a lot of people do very well when you give them hope. So that's been my approach. I will make sure I let you know this is going to be okay, one way or the other. I tell you, this is just the first phase of it, probably the second phase if you're coming back from the hospital. Um, just giving them the necessary assurance they need. Um, if there's any family members around, I also make sure I let them know that they all gonna be in the same boat as we all are, and that we're gonna need their help in the process. So it is, I think, it's very important as a therapist to initially grant them hope, and then help them throughout the process. You don't just go in and offer hope, offer assurances, and not show up. Now,
mm.
being an evaluating therapist like I am, there's a chance for you to just evaluate and then give it off to an assistant. So you probably may not have to see them again until maybe not forever, or maybe just before they leave. But personally, I always make it my point to go back the next day, ask them how they were doing. Even if they were not on my caseload, I'll be there. I think it's very, very important. I've seen so many people um, show so much appreciation for that, and I guide my assistant, whoever it might be, through the process. Now, Mr. A or Mr. B seems to like this more so than that. He's not an early person. How about we see him a little later? Um, I think it would be a good idea to give him some pain medications before we even start moving him. Little things like that, I think helps to calm the patient, and then help go through a meaningful recovery.
Yeah, it's so powerful how you show up for your clients, and even when hope may feel distant. And I just love that personalized approach.
Mhm.
So there's something that I am curious about. How do you balance the medical, technical side of occupational therapy with the emotional and compassionate side of supporting a client?
Interesting question. I think this boils down to what I said earlier. Do you find different aspects of this answer, coming through my explanation of the second answer, second question you asked me? I think most often than not, therapists have a trained guideline to do our work. Um,
Mhm.
as a therapist, be it a physical therapist, speech therapist, or occupational therapist, you have certain things, and then with a lot of constraints that's come with insurances and Medicare and all that, it puts us in a bind to where, as a therapist, if you're not very careful, you might be just being so technical about your vocation, and then it takes away the human aspect of it. So, as an experienced therapist, or if I were to advise any other therapist, I would say you really need to know how well you can blend the two modes. Of confronting situations with a patient. What do I mean by modes? You have your personal self, your compassionate self, your emotional self, and then you have the technical aspect of it. Um, if you solely go in with an attitude of being super compassionate, you may lose track of the actual intervention you designed for the patient. or the resident. So I think you have to blend it as best as you can, go in and out, in and out. One thing that I find very, very interesting is I think some of it was from training while I was in school. A lot of it also comes from, experiences with different people, different patients. Um, it makes so much sense if you can explain to the patient what you are about to do with them.
Mhm.
So it's very, very important. Um, if I'm gonna do a manual range of motion exercise with you, let's say you have a um, shoulder dislocation or what a shoulder um, situation where I have a doctor's orders to do range of motion on you. Now you've been in a sling for what, maybe 2 weeks. You go for an ortho visit and you come back and all of a sudden the doctor says, we're supposed to start range of motion on it. I have to explain to you. You probably don't even understand it, at the time. So I try as best as I can. Trust me, I've gone into my phone and taken videos to show patients um, um, what they actually look like before we even start, physically touching them. So it helps a lot to explain to the patient what you get ready to do. I believe also I've realized that a lot of good comes out of touch. The way you touch them. I'm a strong man. I'm 6 foot tall, 200 some pounds. Um, Sometimes patients feel very, very, very assured when you want to help them. They think, with your help, they're not going to fall. So they're
Mhm.
more comfortable with you more so than 5'6" nurse. So that's a plus. At the same vein, a patient might also feel like, um, oh, I'm so weak in my shoulder. If you touch me with this, um, huge figure, you might can help, you might can hurt me. So you
Mhm.
try as much as possible to be very gentle with them. I show them that everything is going to be fine. And then you grade your processes. You go, from slow to wherever you intend to be with them. So, and then you also want to give them therapeutic rest breaks in between different situations. Um, Going fully technical can be very, very negative for
Mhm.
future sessions. So I've seen situations where patients have said, "Could you please switch out my therapist and give me somebody else?" And when you try to look deep into it, you realize that the touch was a little too overpowering for him. So it's very important how to switch, between being compassionate with them, being able to grade your touch with them. Um, I also think it's very, very important as a therapist, or at least in my experience, to ask questions of them, give them the chance to also be a part of the process. So ask them, what is your pain level right now? Do you think we can take 2 steps? Do you think we can do this today? Is it okay if we do this now? Okay, the patient might say, um, is it okay if I take a little nap before you come back? I'm not in the right frame of mind right now. You have to be very flexible to give them that opportunity to reset themselves so they will be well prepared psychologically for whatever you plan on doing with them. So being technical is what the book says. Of course, that's what your training gave you, but I think you have to be able to blend it very, very well with your emotional side too.
Yeah, well, that balance of head and heart is really vital, and I think that you embody that beautifully.
Yes.
Well, I would love to hear about a moment that stands out for you. So, what's one of the most rewarding moments you've experienced as an occupational therapist?
Hmm. Um, there's several of them. There's several of them. Let's see. I think one particular one that stands out will be, yeah, sister. Now, there's this nun. She's a retired sister. If they ever retire, I'm not sure. But there's this sister who came to my facility. Now I work at a skilled nursing facility. We have an inpatient area and a long-term area, a long-term building. So we take care of patients as and when. But most of my work comes from working with inpatient um, patients, so to speak. Uh, so there was this lady, a nun who had a stroke, and she probably was in their mid 70s, very active. She suffered a bad stroke, and she came through, and I was assigned to her. She was on my caseload. Um, she asked me what I thought the prognosis was going to be for her. She told me, of course, when you do your profiling, you want to ask them questions, and then you want to ask them what their goals are, what she wants to get out of therapy, what's the ultimate goal. And she said, I remember very well. She told me, I want to be able to drive again. And now this she has so much weakness on one side. I don't remember what side it was, but hemiplegic. Um, and I thought it was a goal too far. It seemed at the time it seemed so far um, for her, but that's what she wanted. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna try as much as possible to get you through this. Now you have so much time to be in a skilled nursing facility. Once your insurance cuts you, you have to go out, for outpatient therapy or maybe go for another in-house rehab facility. So I knew we weren't going to get there while she was there with me. We tried as much as we could. One thing about her was she was very, 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 very driven. She was very, very driven and willing to do therapy. Was always ready. She tried to do as much research for herself as possible. And I gave her a lot of home exercise program to do when we're not doing therapy because I figured therapy, especially with stroke patients, you need to do so much repetitive exercise to get your motor pathways to reconnect. That's how you gain function back from stroke recovery. So I told her, well, we're gonna have to do more therapy after I'm gone. So she bought into it, and then I actually found her some exercise equipment, showed her a few things to do, and she kept with it. Now, when she got discharged, she wasn't too far away from where my facility was, and she wanted to do some therapy. So we signed up. I went in there maybe 4 times a week, and we did extra therapy at her convent. Now, they had a small gym there. This lady would go in there to work. And then I try to help, and I saw so much progress, so much progress. It was amazing. I mean, it was like textbook progress to me. So it was very encouraging. I made sure I took a lot of notes. I tried different interventions that we don't typically do because we don't have patients going, over that period. So it came to a time, it ended. We stayed in touch. She'll call me every once in a while. I'll call her back and then ask how she's doing with stuff. Now, her convent supervisors or her superiors took her car keys away. Yes, so she wouldn't be tempted to drive.
Wow.
Guess what? She called me maybe a year later and she said, Perry, guess what? I'm driving now. I found it hard to believe. I knew she could, if she put in the work. Now she was walking, of course, with a little limp. Now she had transitioned from the walker to the cane. So I knew she was making more progress. Now we have a chapel in my facility, so she comes there for morning mass every now and then. I'll see her and I'll talk to her every once in a while. She'll buy me some donuts, and she'll leave it with a receptionist, and I'll go pick it up. But what amazed me was I was in a room with another patient, and I could see from the room the entrance of the building, and I see a car parked right there. And I'm looking, and there she goes, getting out of the car and actually walking. I was so amazed. I had to tell my patient, "Excuse me, I will be right back." She said, "Sure." I went over there and gave her the biggest hug, and I felt so good about her situation. And she all she said was, "Thanks to you, Perry. Thanks to you, Perry." So I thought that was very rewarding. And I still keep in touch with her. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw her was last week. She's still doing good. Yeah.
What a gift to be a part of someone's healing journey in that way. And what a beautiful story. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Thank you again for that inspirational story. But
Yes.
of course, there's another side to your work. You know, when someone chooses not to continue therapy, how do you process that experience? And what helps you let go while still caring?
Well, as you may know, most people know, when you come for therapy, I'm sure, especially when insurances are paying for your therapies, you have a right to refuse therapy, um, and that's your right. So, as a therapist, um, my job is to make sure you get the most out of therapy within the time frame you have to be there for therapy. So if somebody chooses not to do therapy, there are different reasons. From my experience, I realized that a lot of things come to play when people decide to continue with therapy or not. If you're very familiar with the different stages of grief, it comes to play a lot when people get sent from their comfort zone to go through a process.
Mm.
Some of it is very, very heartbreaking to see. Um, some of it is very, very difficult to understand. There are different things that come into play. Some you can make sense of, some you cannot. Now, let's say, for instance, somebody gets sent out to come for occupational therapy with a wrist fracture, and they want to go home. All of a sudden, maybe a daughter that lives out of state decides to come over and help her. Now she thinks she has the help she needs at home, so she wants to go home. That's understandable. Um, I can deal with that. I can understand that. I'll explain to her what she needs to do. Her precautions, what not to do with that wrist. Try to keep it in the splint that we give her or from whatever splint she got from the hospital, so that I can live with. There are different situations where a patient might decide to go home because they just don't like to be away from home, and yet their condition is not safe for them to be at home. So as a therapist, I come in and explain to them. I'll tell them why I think the doctor ordered occupational therapy for you in the first place. I explain to them what I think the risks are for being at home without a team to care for you. You have the nurses, you have the dietitians, you have the therapists, you have the case managers, everybody else, the aides and the nurses caring for you. If you're dependent for certain things, you definitely need to be there. So you try to make sense of it to them. Um, Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. At that point, you know you did your best. In a few occasions, reassuring them that just give us a little bit of time to see what tomorrow brings
Mm.
can change people's thoughts about leaving. Um, so there's those situations, And there are situations that are very, very hard to deal with. Like I said earlier, let's say somebody has a terminal disease and they come for therapy. Most times we have if I have a patient that's there for rehab as a result of you know a terminal situation, they're there to get a little stronger so they can go to the next series of chemotherapy or radiology or all that. So um, they're very weak. They can tolerate too much therapy. You have to grade their therapies for them. Try to put them in a situation where they can, you know, transition to the next phase of the healing process. Now, case in point, I had a patient maybe 3 weeks ago, wonderful lady, diagnosed with something terminal, um, very, very pleasant. She understood the process. I go in to see her for therapy, and I could tell she just wasn't doing well. Um, I don't diagnose. I just treat the diagnosis or the symptoms. So, but just knowing that recovery was coming hard for her, family coming in and out, everybody flying from out of town because they probably heard, there was, something coming up at the end of the tunnel. So, it was hard to deal with. And then her daughter told me, maybe 2 days or 3 days into it that I think we want to take mom home. In a case like that, I can very well understand. I think they want the end of life situation to be in her comfort, in the comfort of her home. So hard as it is, you just want to give the little advice you can, hold hands, assure them everything will be fine. You pray with them if you're a person of faith, or care to do that. I've done that in the past, and then you ask them to consult with you anytime if they need any advice or help. And I think just giving them that freedom and then that bit of allowance to transition into their home without any contention makes it a lot peaceful for them. So those are the different situations that normally come up. But then the ultimate decision comes from the patient and their families.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, seems like it takes a lot of heart to really stay steady in those moments.
Oh yes, it does.
Yeah.
You're right.
So, thinking about the people who are just starting out with occupational therapy. So, what's one piece of advice that you give someone who's about to start, but feels unsure or resistant?
Well, yeah, yeah. Just like any profession, I think it is important to do your research,
Mm.
do your due diligence, and then have an idea what you're walking into. Um, if you're considering working in my setting now, occupational therapist, after training, you can work in skilled nursing. What I do now, you can work at a hospital where you see acute cases. You can work in inpatient, outpatient rehab where people come in with an elbow injury, um, you know, um, some stroke, residual symptoms of stroke, or just a hip surgery, a knee replacement, simple things like that. We work in different settings. I had classmates even end up working in the prison system. So um, there's everything. So you want to do a research, and then see where you want to end up. Now, if you paid attention to my last answer, you would realize that there are situations where it takes a lot of heart to be in deal with people. So if you're not strong or you're not very sympathetic, you find that it can be a conflict now. So process of training, they tell you, they expose you to different situations. Now, I don't remember anybody telling me while I was in school about a situation like I just told you.
Yeah.
So, if you delve deeply into it, you it's just like any other job. I think there are situations where which can be tough to handle, but in our situation, it's more of the psychological and emotional aspect of it that can be a little challenging for you. So you make sure you're well grounded, know yourself, know what you can deal with. I've heard people say, "I don't want to see blood, so I don't want to be a nurse." I've heard that before. Um, but in my line of work, I think you can say that all you want, but experience can groom you. And life experiences, your natural growth into any situation can make you well prepared for situations like this. It pays to have a very good mentor in the process of deciding where you want to be, what setting you want to work at, if you want to be an occupational therapist. So I would advise anybody who wants to be an OT to, first of all, look at yourself. Check out your personality. Are you a people's person? What do you think about when you see somebody hurt at a store? What do you think about when you see, um, somebody that you're not even related to in a dire situation? Do you feel some kind of sympathy for them? Do you start to think about what you can do to help? If you can answer these questions honestly to yourself, I think it will be a great start to venturing into an occupation like that. You want to make sure you shadow. I tell people that want to be OTs, I tell them, hey, make sure you get somebody who has a great deal of experience in the profession. Don't go for a 2 year out of college professional to shadow from. You could do that if you just want to know what the basics are. If you want somebody that has, if you want to know more, you want to know what the deep you know the deep situations are with therapy. You want to talk to somebody or shadow somebody who has a lot of experience. In my day, I was fortunate to have very very seasoned therapists who are still, a part of my life journey. So they and I went in coming in as a second career. So I sort of had an upper hand. I'd seen so many life experiences. So it helped shape my decision. It helped form my opinions about what I wanted to do. And it became an easy transition for me. Now, does that mean I didn't have challenges when I started? No, I had my own challenges, but just like I said earlier, those challenges come and then you find a way to work around them. But ultimately, your personality has to be the guiding um, benchmark to be a very effective and successful therapist.
Yeah, that's such empowering guidance. Thank you. So I'm curious about how this work has impacted you personally. So, how has working so closely with people's healing journeys shaped your own perspective on life, resilience, or health?
Interesting. Let's see. Yeah, I've and this might be an answer most medical professionals will give you, that life, when you work in a setting like that, you realize that life is very fragile, and
Mm.
it makes you want to pay attention to the little things that make life complete for you. Um, like I told you earlier, when I go to do evaluations with patients, I'm asking them everything I can within a scope to have a good idea what life was before this particular life altering situation happened, and then what their goals are, what they're looking for to get out of therapy, what their hopes and aspirations are. if I begin to tell you the answers I've heard from people when they go off tangent, and that's human nature. They'll talk about different things, and then I could go on and on and on and on, and some of it is so heartwarming, some of it is so sad, some of it is it encompasses every aspect of life you can think about. So um, it helps to give you a broader. Before I became an OT, I did not know so many things about different people. My scope of life was shaped by what I see, um, on a daily basis, what I see on media, or what I've been trained or nurtured with. But once you get to talking to people from different walks of life, you get to understand that life is super broad than you thought.
Mm,
People go through so many experiences. I mean, and most of it is not what you see in front of you. So it gives you it's giving me a very, very wide perspective of life. It helps me not to make assumptions. Um, and naturally, if you're trying to help somebody, you just don't make assumptions. You want to make sure you go through what the process gives you, and then you run with whatever outcomes you get from it. But yeah, so experiences that I've had or I've heard from people has made me a better person, in my opinion. Sometimes I think I can I can be uh, all professions in one person. Typically a psychologist. I've had people tell me they were going to end their lives when they get out of there. I've helped in one situation. I think I've read that by telling whoever um, you were supposed to tell, and then she got the kind of psychological intervention she needed to get. Son came in, made sure she didn't have any weapons. They took all the weapons from her house. Situations like that. So um, any I can help, I've done. Um, I also think life is very fragile. It makes me see how fragile life is. We need to take good care of ourselves. What we ingest physically and psychologically is very important to um, making us whole or not. So um, little things like that become, you know, guiding principles if they're reading set in stone or not. So unconsciously, they help you to navigate this world um, the right way. I also think relationships are everything.
mm,
Relationships are everything. Forging good relationships with your loved ones, your family, especially, is very, very important because I've seen a lot of situations that have become hopeless because there's nobody to hold hands with you or even discuss stuff with you as you go through the grieving process or healing process. So family and relationships are very, very important. Making sure you forge good relationships everywhere you go is important. Um, I've made friends with people from all walks of life. We have a small community here. I walk through the grocery store and people come to me and they be like, "Hey, I remember you." And I look at him like, "Oh, hold on a second. She's probably a previous patient or a patient's relative." And they tell you, "Oh, my mom is doing so well now. Thank you so much for helping her." It makes you feel very fulfilled. So. Um, just being able to impact people's lives makes you a very resilient person. It makes you very, very willing to get up and go do it again the next day. So it's helped me a lot in my personal relationship with everybody, and I think it's made me more attentive to every situation around me to make sure, in a case where stuff is not what it was normally, what will you be your options that you have? You always want to look at options, or try to avert negative situations. So generally, it's made me a better person.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that wisdom and that perspective. It's something that so many of us need to hear.
Yes.
So in thinking about patients, once they leave their work with you and have to re-enter life, how do you support clients in adapting their daily routines, their environments, or their roles after illness or injury?
Yeah, well, as occupational therapists, we are trained to provide support um, before, during, and after situations that alter your normal life. So let's say if you're going for a hip surgery, you can go through training to know what to expect out of your rehab, and then once you come to rehab, of course, you do your rehab, and then once you get up out of rehab, there are different things we do to help you to get back home, back to your life. You'd be surprised how many people live alone and want to be can give up their home or their vocations, their work, just because there was a sudden change in the way they perform their daily activities. So, as therapists, one thing we do in my setting is we have what we call home evaluations. So we'll come and do an assessment of your home. Some situations are very, very demanding where you might not be able to use your stairs again, or it might take a while before you can do the regular steps. So I'm coming into your house, looking around, um, checking out to see what safety hazards there are, and then making recommendations as to what to get, what to take out, and what to bring in. There's so many adaptive equipment um, that we can recommend to you to make life a lot more meaningful. So
Mhm.
that's part of the things we do. A lot of people will be in a situation where they have to get back to work. Um, and they might have been a situation you went through that makes it hard for you to sit for longer periods of time behind a computer. I'm coming in to look at your settings, how much time. I'm asking you how much time you spend in a day. Are there ways we can break down your day, your schedule? Um, are there any ergonomic seatings we can suggest for you? Um, if you're not able to walk the steps, does your job have a ramp for you to use a powered wheelchair, so you can get back to work, make a living, and support yourself and your family? Um, Little things like that. If you have a situation where you had a brain injury or you had a CVA, you've recovered as much as you can. But like the lady I talked about earlier on in one of my answers to you, are there any adaptations we can make to make getting in and out of the car a lot more easier for you? Are there any things we can adapt on the steering wheel that can make it easy for you to navigate your environment? Are there any support systems in the neighborhood where you can get food delivered to you rather than having to put yourself at risk by going to the grocery store? Um, your medication delivered to you. We look at this as a whole, so we can help you get back to or your um, regular, routine as best as possible, so you can make a good living. There are specialized trainings you have to go for as a therapist to get certifications for, you know, training people to get back to driving again and stuff like that. But the simple, well, not so simple, but the basic duties of a parent, the basic duties of a homemaker, or if you live alone, can be made a lot easier for you or meaningful if you consult with an occupational therapist. We do all that.
That's amazing to provide that kind of 360 whole patient care.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's end on a light note. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day of helping others?
Okay, unwinding. Yeah, I say I love my music. I love music so much. Um, I'm always working on music when I'm relaxing, playing music before I go to bed, playing music when I wake up in the morning. Um, my kids play some songs. I ask them, "Where did you hear this song?" And they be like, "Dad, you've been playing it forever." So you can tell music is part of me, and I think that's my safe place. Of course, apart from family, driving back home is always music. So when I get home, when I have a little bit of energy, I'm a DJ. In case you didn't know, I play music to make people dance and then make them happy. So in the process, I get my high from it one way or the other. So well, I have a setup not too far from my family room where I just go in and play music when I have some energy. I play music and just stand by, do some mixes here and there. Try to unwind the brain as much as possible. And I love to cook.
Mhm.
I love to cook. So most times I'm stopping by maybe 3 times out of the week, I'm stopping by the grocery store, calling home to find out what the kids might want to eat, or, you know, and I'll come stand by, put my Bluetooth next to me in the kitchen and play some music while I put some recipes together. So that's the most common thing I'll do to unwind. Of course, the thought about coming home to family is also, um, you know, relieving to me. It gives me so much pleasure to come home and then, give hugs and receive hugs from my family. So, yep, those are basically the things that I do to unwind. Yep.
I love that. Love that. I say the little things, but it's not the little things. It's those
Yeah,
big things that really keep us grounded. So
that's
thank
right.
you. Perry, thank you so much for your honesty and the heart you bring to your work. This conversation shines a light on how occupational therapy is more than just recovery exercises. It's about courage, compassion, and connection. So, to those watching, I hope you take away encouragement and maybe a renewed belief in the power of support, whether it's through therapy, coaching, or simply showing up for yourself each day. Thank you for joining us for another Heart and Hope conversation. I'm Valerie Lawier, and I look forward to our next conversation together. So until then, please be gentle with yourself and keep holding on to hope.
Thank you.
To learn more about partnering with Coaching for Chronic Illness, please visit our website at https://www.coachingforchronicillness.com/partnership. Want to learn more? Subscribe to my newsletter for ongoing reflections, free tools, and notification of new episodes of Navigating Chronic Illness with Heart and Hope with Valerie Lawier, my video series on grief, illness, and gentle healing. Or visit us on our website at coachingforchronicillness.com to explore options to receive more support.